people are running damage control about Pokemon TCG Pocket, and for good reason, because I think this one release kind of emphasizes what I've been saying about the mobile market for a long time. This is an industry that will be dominated by Nintendo products eventually. And right now we're seeing a lot of people cope about that, like, but Fate Go Heroes or whatever the fuck is doing better than Fire Emblem Heroes. Like, meanwhile, Pokemon Go was like the biggest thing on iOS for a while there. And now they followed up with Pokemon TCG Pocket, which is not only successful in its own right, but is competitive in a space that is often shilled among the most dedicated of anti-Nintendo shills, the mobile gacha market, right? People like Darkside Phil and Raging Golden Eagle would rather uh, pay real money, like hundreds of thousands of dollars, for like WWE wrestlers or lolicon anime girls instead of, well, I'm sorry, it's a Korean product. Lolicon Mawa girls instead of like actually playing real, engaging, interesting video games on Nintendo Switch. And they cope about this. They bend over backwards to try and like gaslight you into thinking these games are actually really engaging and really fun. But the reality is like they're only playing them for the sexual gratification of seeing Hulk Hogan on your iOS on your phone screen, right? It's not about the gameplay at all, right? But because this is such a cheap disposable thing that appeals to retards with no financial sense at all, what ends up happening is that you just get a bunch of people just throwing money at like JPEG images of like anime chicks, right? Like instead of actually going out and talking to a real girl, something that Raging Golden Eagle will never ever do in his entire miserable existence. So when you take that into consideration, when you look at like the competition in the gacha space, when you see how bad the gameplay is, when you see just how repetitive it is, when you see just how lazy and stupid it all is, right? And then you look at Pokemon TCG Pocket, you see how this is a superior product. You see how Nintendo is going to dominate the iOS App Store. You see what the result is going to be because Nintendo products do not exploit you for money. Like when you look at like TCG Pocket and compare it to like Nikke, you see that there are less exploitive financial systems, right? You get free packs every day. You have like online play. You have like all of these things that really make the Pokemon TCG shine. It really showcases everything fun about the Pokemon TCG in a much more affordable way than simply like buying a bunch of cards and then like playing with your friends, right? Like I think this game is going to be a big deal in getting Pokemon trading cards popular again, right? They're already like the second most popular like trading card game in the world, but getting into it myself over the past couple of weeks, I've kind of realized that I've been gaslit into thinking that like Pokemon is a bad TCG. Probably from the same kind of people who try to gaslight you into thinking Pokemon is a bad video game series or Nintendo hardware sucks. Like it's the same kind of mindset, right? Like no, don't play Pokemon. Play Magic the Gathering. It's way more mature. Like D&D. Like every single time the Pokemon TCG has come up, like it feels like all anybody wants to talk about is like, oh man, they were popular at one point, but now they've fallen off. And getting into the hobby myself, I'm starting to realize that is not true. Like I've looked at cards in public, I've seen just how much more popular Pokemon is compared to Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh. Magic I think is only as relevant as it is because it's been around so much longer. But like I think the success of the Pokemon TCG app is going to push the Pokemon card game beyond Magic the Gathering. It is going to establish Pokemon as the dominant trading card game in the world, and rightfully so, right? This is an extremely well-crafted card game with iconic characters that are just really fun to play with and connect and collect, right? But like that's the card game. That's the real game. the mobile app is a little bit different because this thing is going to dominate the gacha sphere. Two birds with one stone. Okay, like the biggest cope I have heard from the iOS shills in recent years is this idea that like Gacha is the future. Gacha is the greatest game thing ever. Like, oh man, I love paying money. Like Pokemon TCG Pocket doesn't matter, right? You have more interesting characters. You can do more with the cards, and they have plenty of room to grow and update, right? Like it isn't just going to be a rehash of the same general concept over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, right? It is the UI is better, the structure is better, the mechanic is easier to understand, right? Like you can get duplicates of cards and trade them online, right? Like, there's so much about Pokemon TCG Pocket that's really just impressed me ever since launch. But I do think this is like the two big things to me is that this will push the Pokemon TCG far past Magic the Gathering in relevancy. It probably already is, but the public just isn't admitting it. They still don't admit that comic book manga is far more popular than comic books. And secondly, this is going to dominate the gacha sphere. So this is going to surpass Nikke. This is going to surpass like Azure Lane. This is gonna surpass like whatever the fucking Coomers are playing, right? Like it's gonna surpass all of that. WWE Legends, right? Because Pokemon is a bigger brand than any of that. And this is a well more crafted app. And as people get more and more engaged with the card game, they're going to get more and more engaged with the video game. It cannot be said enough that in spite of all the shilling, in spite of all the complaining, the whining, the crying, like the excuses from YouTubers, Pokemon is bigger than ever, right? Pokemon has had like a banger generation so far on Switch. And I could see like next year just being another huge year for the brand with Pokemon Legends EA, and I believe Gen 10 is due next year. So that's gonna be really interesting to see if we see sequels to those games come out and see just how much better the games have gotten since Scarlet and Violet, which in and of themselves were fantastic games. Like I really don't see the anti-Pokemon thing like lasting another generation, right? Either this is going to be the last one that people rally against, or it's going to be the one after that. But like, it's getting really, really difficult to take complaints about the Pokemon brand seriously. Because when you get right down to it, like I have so much more fun with this than I ever would with Nikke or with Magic the Gathering, right? I have no intention of playing either of those things ever, right? Pokemon is better than all of that, and it is time that fanboys start to admit it.